Hello classmates, here we go again. Marketing chapter 9 coming your way. Of course, you have your textbook right there and you have something to write on and something to write with. And hopefully you are really curious about this particular chapter. It's all about pricing. Let's first define pricing. Well, price is actually whatever we charge for our product. And remember, a product can be a thing or a service. And that means that the product, the price tag on the product is what creates a money flow to the company, and that is called revenue. And here's the basic business equation. The revenue, the incoming money, minus the amount that we have to pay to produce the product, that if there is anything left, then that is our profit. And we will visit this equation again soon. The value that a customer or a potential customer perceives is really the best way to set the price on a product. Again, we will get into that too. Here is one way of setting a price, and that is figuring out what it actually costs, adding a little padding there, and then we know what it costs. So here's an example I found online for a Nike sneaker, where we can see that there is a $5 profit. Sorry about that, cats, on the sneaker, and that means that there is lots and lots of the cost to produce, then there is the cost to market, there is a cost to actually transport it to the retailer, etc., etc. And there are two types of costs that are involved here. The first one is called a fixed cost, and those are the ones like rent and insurance. They basically don't change no matter how many shoes we produce. And then there is the variable cost. Those change with the quantity of the production of a thing, because we need more raw materials. For example, we need more cardboard boxes to put them in. We might need to hire more people. So this kind of cost-based pricing comes in a couple of flavors. The first one is that once we know what the cost is for us to produce something, then we just add a certain percentage on top of that. And we see that quite a bit. It's not the best one to go with, though. Then there is another one that is called break-even pricing, and that means when we go back to our basic business equation, the revenue minus expenses equals profit. The profit is set to 0, and that determines how much we're asking for our product. Or, and this is venture capitalists do that a lot, they just set a specific rate of return that is expected. But customer value-based pricing is really the best one. We're going to spend a little time on this, even though we're not going to use this in our projects. However, it is very important to understand this for future economy classes, economics classes. So on the one side here we have the dollars, and here we have the units, meaning how many pairs of sneakers we make. And here's the fixed cost. A quick reminder, fixed cost means they don't change, even whether we produce 1 pair of sneakers or 1,000 pair of sneakers. Those costs don't change. So if we want to set the price, then we definitely don't want to go below the fixed cost, because then we're in the negatives and definitely will close down soon. And the cost, of course, increase as we increase the production. As we set the price higher and higher, there comes a point where the price, the revenue that we would make is equal to the fixed cost that we have to pay out, but then we still have the variable cost on top of that. And finally, this here is the break-even point, where cost equals revenue and profit is 0. Now, if we want to set a specific return on investment, let's say we want to specifically set it at 2 million or some percentage, we can actually calculate that. Pretty interesting, isn't it? And no, we're not going to do that, but it is in the back of the book. Another type of pricing is when we go with a competition-based pricing, also not recommended except if you come up with, let's say, a new flavor for a chewing gum. Then we definitely have to go with what are the other chewing gums, how much are they, because we can't be that different from that chewing gum. And another thing to keep in mind is that the pricing strategies are influenced by the other 3 P's of our marketing strategy: the packaging, promotion, and the placement. I'm bringing here the example of a Tiffany box. I assume that everybody has at least seen a picture of this. So once Tiffany's, the company, is thinking about its pricing strategy, they're also thinking about, okay, how can we design our packaging so that it goes with the pricing? And how can we promote this? And where can we promote this so that it goes with the pricing and the packaging? And where are we going to sell our product so that it goes with the other things? Now for Tiffany's, you can only purchase Tiffany's products in their own website and in their own stores. They do not ever have sales. You probably have noticed that. And their advertising is usually pretty classy. So it's really all coming together. And that definitely we will do. Another thing that we will not have to really deal with, but it's a concept that is very important, and that is the demand curve. Basically, the short version of this is that as we set the price higher, the demand is lower. If we set the price lower, the demand increases. Make sense? Okay. Price elasticity of demand. It's a wonderful economics, again, concept that we need to understand. So I brought it here. Something that is very inelastic, meaning that when the price changes, the demand doesn't really change. Gasoline, no matter whether the price was $2 or recently it was $5 a gallon, the change in demand almost didn't change. However, I just read about a research on tomato prices. For every percent the price of fresh tomatoes increased, the demand went down by 4%. Interesting, isn't it? Now we come to something that definitely is most important for us, which is the new product pricing, because that's what you'll be doing in our project. And there are 2 basic ideas for the new product pricing. The first one is the skimming, setting a price high in order to get the few people who want to have the first new thing and be the first ones on the block. And our profit would be pretty high at that moment. So think of when the iPhone first came out, the price was set at $600, which we thought was crazy at the time. Lots of people bought it, and then 3 months later it was reduced to $400. Yeah, there were unhappy campers out there. And then there's the opposite of that, where it's a penetration pricing, meaning we set the price low in order to help people over the hurdle to actually purchase a product that they haven't tried before. And that, of course, brings us to psychological pricing. You probably have heard of the $19.99 price instead of $20, but then there's also the other kind, and that is where we set something at a high price like Tiffany's does because it wants to say that about the item. Make sense? And promotional pricing, yes, we will deal a lot with that in our project. Start looking around when you go to the grocery store, when you go to the mall, go on a field trip, and figure out how are companies using these, how are products promoted using this. And with that, I'll see you online.